I mean, I'm pretty, I don't know if stubborn's the right word, persistent.
That's
And
great.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely those races where there's a good amount of adversity. I mean, I'm pretty good at finishing those ones and persisting through, bad weather, bad road conditions. Yeah, the fact that I went to the start line pretty much says that it's my intention to finish, and I'm going to do everything I can to finish.
From KOM Cycling and Michigan Midpack Media, welcome to the Dirty Chain Podcast, the podcast that covers the cycling scene from the viewpoint of the Michigan Midpack. I am your host, Trevor, and on this episode, I talk with Tour Divide finisher Dr. Tracy Berman. When I think of multi-day bike events, racing, cycling events, in the United States, two of them come to mind. The first one is the Ram Ride across America, that goes from the West Coast to the East Coast. On the other end of the spectrum is the Tour Divide. It starts north in Canada, goes south to the New Mexico/Mexico border, self-supported bike packing race. I know Tracy as a gravel cyclist and cyclocross racer here in Michigan, and when I heard that she was going to attempt the Tour Divide, I knew that not only did I want to hear her story, but that many of you would want to hear it as well. Tracy does a great job of taking us through the details of the Tour Divide and all of that. But she also takes us through her ride, the ups and the downs. And we talk a lot about what it takes, not only physically, but mentally, to start and finish such an impressive ride. So I want to get right to it. The Tour Divide with finisher Dr. Tracy Berman. Hello, how are you?
I'm really good, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty high energy. Don't have that, sometimes you have a big event you've been planning for a long time and you get there and then it's just like afterwards. I don't know if that's ever happened to you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So no, I'm excited about the next thing. So I'm feeling good.
Has it been like a week or 2 weeks? How long have you been home?
I've been home for a week. I finished on July 10th. It took me a couple days, logistically, to get from the middle of nowhere back to Michigan. So.
Sure. Did you go out there with any? I mean, it looked like you were getting back by yourself. Did you go out there with anyone?
Yeah, my husband flew out with me.
Okay.
And so, besides nice to spend time with him without our son, before I was going to be gone a while, it just really helped out logistically because I could fly there. Usually I have like a hard shell bike box, so I could make sure that my bike was packed safely. And then I had like all my tools. Like I like to have my torque wrenches and make sure like everything's just right and stuff. So I could bring all that with me and then just send it back with him.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So other people, so on the way home, all you have to get back is what you had during the ride, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got a cardboard box and like everything was stuffed in there, not padded or anything. Everything made it back. But like the clothes that I wore back on the airplane are like my camp clothes from the ride. And I just kept like washing in the hotel sink so I didn't smell like horrible. But yeah, so, it was nice on the way there that I could wear different clothes and stuff too, because my husband helped me out.
Tell me about the finish. Like, I know we haven't even like got to the beginning, but like it seems, I mean, you sent me that amazing YouTube video of like some of the other riders of day one. And it seemed like it was like, holy moly. Yeah. The start was, it's kind of relaxed, and, you know, it wasn't like a huge event kind of start, which I kind of figured because it's a multi-day thing. And it's not like everyone's there rearing to go real fast from the line, but the views from the first day that were on that YouTube video, I was like, holy cow. I mean, it's not like they ease into it at all. It's just, completely gorgeous. And contrasting that to, and I only know it from the pictures of everyone finishing, but it's at the border in front of a fence. What town does it finish in?
Antelope Wells, New Mexico. And literally, I don't know if it'd be called a town. I mean, literally the only thing there is the border control.
Okay.
So the next closest town, which has a market, like a little market's 50 miles away, like 46 miles away.
So logistically,
so it's just like this, you know, brushy kind of deserty area with cows. Everywhere has cows, but yeah.
Yeah. Then, so logistically finishing, and then, you know, getting your obligatory picture. Then, I mean, like, how do you get from there to, I mean, for you, are you back on your bike riding to the next town so you could get to a hotel and a bus?
No, some people do. No, there's a guy, and kind of what he does for a living to pay for his house is pick up the cyclists and also the hikers. So the Continental Divide Trail that people hike also would be kind of parallel the bike race we did. So that's kind of what he does. And so you hire him and he will come pick you up. He will take you back to the store so you can get a little bit of food. And then you can stay at his house for the night. And he has bike boxes. He'll help you like tape up your bike, and then he'll drop you off at the airport. So if he wasn't doing that, like, I don't know. One of the New Zealanders rode back about 50 miles to that town. But yeah, I was a little worried that I'd get there and no one would pick me up, and that's what I'd have to do. But on one hand, you're like, okay, 50 miles, like I can, you know, I've done it. I can do that. On the other hand, like, you've told yourself you're done. And so to be like going again. Also, I mean, there's nowhere to get water at the border. So
yeah.
Hopefully you have enough to spin around again.
What time of day did you finish?
I finished at like 5 p.m., which I think is a pretty solid time. A lot of people, it looks like they're finishing in the dark in their photos. And so there's the people who are finishing in the dark because they ride, you know, all the time. I usually tried to get a good amount of sleep, so I wasn't always riding or didn't ride through the night. But other people, because it's hot in New Mexico, they'll ride through the night. And so they might have been finishing like early morning in the dark. And so I know some people did that, but then you do that. And if you're passing through the towns at 2 a.m., then you're not going to get a resupply, right? It's going to be closed. So you got to pack more water, more food.
You mentioned this, the person at the end of
Jeffrey Sharp. Yeah.
Okay. Jeffrey Sharp. Is that kind of a theme? I kind of sense like you kind of have these trail angels throughout the entire, or maybe I don't know. Is that kind of a theme?
Trail service people, the trail. Yeah. I mean, there's people that it goes through a lot of small towns, right? And so if they can offer service, I mean, that's just maybe the way most of the people are coming through their town is affiliated with racing or hiking. So yeah, there's a few towns that's basically what they do is, you know, feed the cyclist, house the cyclist. There's some place, Whitefish Bike Retreat, like they'll get you to the start, but they do more things. So they also have like trails and stuff near their bike retreat in Whitefish. So that's not the only thing they're counting on, but they will shuttle you to the start if you wanted to get up to Banff from Montana.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of started kind of completely backwards, but I was hoping that you could just very simply for those that don't know, explain what the Tour Divide is. So like, where does it start? Where does it finish? Approximately how many miles it is? And then I'm not sure if you know this year, how many people at least started it.
Oh yeah, I meant to look up more of the statistics. So the Tour Divide is taking the Great Divide mountain bike route and trying to do it as a race. And so trying to finish it as quickly as you can, as opposed to, it was kind of designed to be a touring route that people might take a couple months to finish. And so the Adventure Cycling Association put together this route in, I think, 1997. And then, of course, a couple of years later, people decided they needed to do it as quickly as they possibly could. And originally, it went from, I think it's Roswell, but you'd have to check me on that one, Montana or Roosevelt, Montana, on the border of Canada. And then it would go down to Antelope Wells, New Mexico. And I think that was like 2,600 miles. And eventually, they expanded the route. And so it would start in Banff in Alberta, Canada, and still go down to the same ending point. And I think they added that in like 2008 or something. And so kind of the historical records are border to border. But now the newer records are from Banff down to the Mexico border. There's actually, you can even start in Jasper, a little further up, but people usually don't do that as part of the race. So if you do the race, or I guess route now, it'd be like 2,700 miles or a little bit more than that. And so there's some deviations between the Great Divide mountain bike route and Tour Divide. Not very many, but they, had to add in some more challenging sections since it was supposed to be a race. And so there's more single track, more kind of silly, I guess I say silly, but like the chunky rocks that you're pushing through to get for hours to cover a few miles, like that's just in the Tour Divide. People touring it would not go through that. But yeah, for the most part, they're pretty similar. But this year, before the race even started, there was wildfires in New Mexico. And so the national forests were closed. And so even from the beginning, we weren't going to be following the original route through the national parks in New Mexico. There was going to be a dirt road detour. And then because there was so much rain, it's kind of monsoon season there, and the mud has a lot of clay and it gets pretty much impassable. And so then there was a third version of the route, which was had pavement in the middle. But, they're all kind of like 2,600 to 2,700 miles ish. And it usually starts if you're doing the Grand Depart. So Grand Depart is everyone kind of starting together, the goal being that we're in similar-ish weather conditions from the start, and that's usually the second Friday in June. Or you can do it as an individual time trial. If you wanted to try to aim for better weather, maybe starting later, so more of the snow's melted and you've avoided monsoon season, you can do that as well. And so that's the Tour Divide's like racing it or trying to race it.
So I've seen from some of your photos, from other people's photos or videos, everything from pavement to pretty amazing gravel roads to almost single track to straight up snow. What kind of conditions did you encounter? What is it? Majority dirt roads? You said it's kind of it's a mountain biking type of. It looks like a lot of people ride.
They call it a mountain bike race, but right. The Cutthroat is clearly the bike of choice. Like Salsa designed the Cutthroat for the Tour Divide, and so
that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. So, most people are rigid, but bigger tires, kind of like more, I guess, monster crossy is what I would think. So, but a gravel bike and people have done it on cyclocross bikes, but I think probably be a little uncomfortable on the chunky parts. A lot of it was gravel, but not like Michigan gravel. Like Michigan gravel, we say brown pavement in a lot of cases,
Sure.
as opposed to maybe up north, it's a little sandy, but it was definitely chunkier, rockier in most places. There was some sand, definitely a good amount of snow packed the first week, which was good, interesting, very pretty. I mean, it's pretty if you can stop and appreciate it, but it's just a long time pushing your bike. And then, I mean, there's some sections that are pretty chunky rock. So the ascents, like some nobody could ride, and then some descents, chunky rock, like I guess braver, more skilled people could ride down it. I thought a few of them, I was pretty frustrated. Probably a couple of my most frustrating points were like, okay, you've been going up the ascent. I was single speeding, so sometimes I was pushing up the ascent. You're like, okay, descending, and then it's just so chunky that on a fully rigid bike, it was just so uncomfortable that I couldn't really ride it, and I was irritated.
Yeah, sure.
Those are some of my least favorite parts. The chunky descents. The chunky descents, yeah.
The chunky, yeah, and you usually one looks forward to a descent to give you a little bit of rest, but when they're so chunky and technical, I'm sure you're thinking about, the long, like if it's just beating up your body, you don't want to be beat up the next day or the day after that from taking something a little too aggressive or, wow, that's, you mentioned single speed. Yeah. I do want to get back to, I want to put a pin in single speed and talk about that for a second, but in a second. But I'm curious. I mean, obviously, a lot about the history of Tour Divide and a lot of the details, of course, because you wrote it, but like when did it enter your mind that this was something you wanted to take on?
Yeah, I wish I had a better like origin story for this. Oh, sorry, I'm bumping my table, making noise. Okay. A better origin story. I mean, I've definitely been familiar with it. Do you know Jesse Ramsey? Have you ever ridden with Jesse?
I don't think so. The name sounds familiar.
Okay. He's back in Michigan, but in the UP now. So Jesse did a lot of the ultra races. And so I think he did it in 2008. And so I'd heard stories from him. I clearly didn't listen well enough as to how hard some of the sections would be because I felt totally unprepared the first week. But it was definitely like an idea of something that existed, not something I would do, that existed. I think it was kind of a joke of my friend David Palin's, that someday I'm going to be single speeding Tour Divide. That's a completely ridiculous thing that one would pick up. And so maybe that's also another way that it got into my head. But it really became like a goal. During 2020, I copied part of Matt Acker's route, the Moore route, but I want Traverse City to Ann Arbor. And so I made a little like deviation from Lansing to Ann Arbor. So I did that over 8 days solo by myself.
Okay.
And I enjoyed that. And so I was like, okay, maybe I want to take on something longer. And so then it was kind of give myself a lot of time to plan. I kind of got my 7 Evergreen, like intending to use that bike. And so, give myself time to get the setup right and stuff.
Did you do the your own version of the Moore route on single speed, or did you do that geared?
That was geared. That was on my Warbird. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so what? I am curious. Then, what was the origin of the thought of doing it single speed? I'm sure. Well, yeah, you just jump into it. I want to know all about
the thought of doing it single speed. I mean, I've been doing all my gravel races single speed this year, just to like really change it up. I've been doing gravel for a few years now.
Yeah.
And so my background was triathlon. And so when you think about triathlon racing on the cycling portion, like you try to keep your effort like super duper even, right? So that you're not spiking your heart rate for the run. And so the goal is like a perfectly even power the whole ride. And so then when I started riding with cyclists and you get to a hill, right, and they're powering up the hill and coasting down, like it was really annoying to me, but also like it's just hard for me to ride with them. And so taking up single speed, like I can't do that super even thing right anymore, right? And so it teaches me to ride in a totally different way. And I can actually ride better with other groups of people on a single speed because I have to do the, work up a hill and then pretty much not do much on the way down. Like it gives you that. And so, yeah, I like that. It's just a different way of riding than I'd done for so many years.
Did you not think though that, and I don't know, maybe Tour Divide is like kind of a one and done thing. I'm sure it takes a lot of resources and time and all this stuff, but you didn't think maybe you wanted to give it a shot geared and maybe the next time do single speed?
Okay. So my other thought besides it being fun and me liking it is reduced chance of mechanical issues.
Okay. I was wondering if
I already had enough as it was. So I can't imagine if I was having problems with my shifting as well. But you think about like, I'm not saying I was wishing for that weather that we got for the spring in the Michigan Gravel Race Series, but I mean, maybe I was hoping that all of your derailleurs would fail. It might be true. I'm like, if you're mud, I can do mud, right? Yeah. Let those suckers freeze. Like, I don't need to worry. So, yeah, I was thinking about that too. I think it's just less to go wrong. And for embarrassing reasons, I will say I tipped over several times and almost every single time it was drive side. So I'm pretty sure I would have been single speed, even if I went out there with gears, because I was determined to fall over on that side.
It could have just been meant to be like whatever bike you brought, you would have been single speed anyways.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It was so embarrassing. I'm like, one, why am I falling over? And two, like every time drive side, like at least balance it out.
Did you, how did you decide on what gearing ratio to use? Is that kind of like, listen, I'm not a single speeder. I can't quite like get my head around it, but I do appreciate people that do that. Is the gear ratio question kind of like the what tire pressure are you going to run question? Are those kind of like similar things?
I mean, a little. In a way, yeah. I mean, people are going to have their own preferences and people are going to be like questioning themselves to the last minute, right? And trying to get other people's input. Yeah. I was very convinced that I'd picked a good gear ratio before I'd gone, basing it on all of my mostly Michigan riding, but I did take a single speed to Montana last summer. And I have taken it to some climbing in Colorado and California. And I was pretty confident in my choice. So I did a ratio of 2. I have a 40 in front and then I put a 20 in the back. And I do have a 21 and I thought about it. And then I'm like, no, it's going to be too spinny. I kind of wish I would have put the 21 on there, especially Canada and Montana. Like once I got past that, it felt a little better. But yeah, Randall Riker, he was also from Ann Arbor. So he was at his third attempt. He didn't make it to the end, but he ran the same as me and he caught up to me. I think right before we crossed the border into the US, he's like, this gear ratio. And I'm like, I know, but it's too late. It's like, it's too hard. It's like, we've committed, like,
oh man,
we're stuck with it. I saw it. So I haven't looked at everybody's, but it looks like the male winner used 2. And then his wife was a little bit lower than that. And I think she made a better choice than I did.
Man, that's wild. What other gear choices, specific gear choices did you make that are notable? I'm sure that that's kind of a big question because it's all about the gear, right? It's all about the preparation and the gear.
I think there's some people that like that part more than they like the racing part. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm probably going to do like a breakdown at some point. Mm-hmm. I have the really stupid idea of doing the Divide race and putting all my junk back on there. And bike packing from my in-laws at Traverse City to Manton and then doing the race with all my junk, or maybe leaving some of my junk at the start line. I'm not sure. So I'll reset it up and I'll do like a, what's on my bike thing.
Yeah.
I think what I would say was notable that some people didn't bring is I think I packed more clothes than some people did. And I think that really helped me. So there was a winter storm. Some people were still in Canada. I had just made it over into the US. And so there was a winter storm and there was a day it was high 30s, low 40s, rainy, wet. We were pushing through the snow. And those are conditions that I found even in Michigan, right? Sometimes like 90 minutes in, like you're waterproofing, you've wetted through, and you're just cold no matter what. And then, you can't unbuckle your own helmet, like you can't do anything.
Right.
And so I've definitely had some bad rides in Michigan where I've gotten too cold. And so I knew it was a possibility we were going to have that weather, and I was pretty nervous about it because I know that I don't necessarily do well in it. And so I had I guess Patagonia like nano puff vest. And so it's a synthetic puffy vest that I figured I could wear under my raincoat if it was super cold and wet. And so because it was synthetic, it should still provide some insulation, even if it's wet. And so I had that on the cold day, and also like really thick wool socks. I know a lot of people didn't have extra socks. Rain pants, most people have rain pants. Those are kind of like sacrificial gear because if you ride in them that long, they pretty much get worn out. So it's kind of like a expensive one trip piece of gear, which is a little sad. Mine are pretty ripped up. I took shoe covers, which is debatable because they do get destroyed because there's so much walking. But for, I think, the descents, it really helps like to block the air out of your shoes. Though I also kind of copied some things from Jill Martindale. I'm a fangirl. And so like thinking about her Iditarod and using the plastic bags as vapor barriers. A lot of people did that. I did that. And then also her idea of having like, oh shit clothes, like the clothes that you have to keep dry unless you're in a warm shelter or it's an emergency situation. Like I had those on me. And so there was like extra layer of clothes that's with my sleeping bag in a dry bag. And like that can only come out like, maybe I had to go into a pit toilet or something because I'm so cold, but at least I can put something dry on. And so I had that. And I think that was useful gear. I didn't need to put it on in an emergency situation. But I did have it when I was, cold and rainy one day, changed into that, and then went out into the winter storm the next day. So I think it helped to be warm over the night.
Was there anything that that you feel like you wish you had brought?
I wish I had sun sleeves for my arms.
Interesting.
Like I always go with sunscreen. I'd rather like feel the wind on my arms than have that barrier. But I got some sort of like, I think maybe heat rash or something. So there's a high desert in Wyoming. I was pretty exposed and my arms were like painfully itchy, thick, red, disgusting for like a week after that. And so I was wearing my like black, thick thermal arm warmers to try to keep sun off of my poor arms. But I think those probably made them sweat more, which wasn't helpful. And I stopped at a few bike shops and they were sold out of the sun sleeves. So I would bring those. And then I didn't bring nail trimmers and I ended up buying them because you're out for a whole month. Like you want to keep those toenails short. So I've got nail trimmers from gas station.
Man, I would never have thought of that.
I was like, it's going to be fine. And it's like, especially like so much walking in your bike shoes. You're like, no, we need to keep these real tidy.
Just in terms of gear and like preparation, and you said some people enjoy like the gear side of things more than maybe the riding. I mean, is that not your, obviously I just by knowing you via like social media and things like you do some, you obviously know your gear and how to like maintain your gear. It looks like you do some of your own bike maintenance. Don't you even like run some clinics too every once in a while, or is that?
Yeah. So our local bicycle co-op Common Cycle, I lead the Femtrans Women Non-Binary programming. Or coordinate it, but we have some new people helping lead the classes, which I'm very excited about. New voices. Yeah, I like being able to maintain my stuff. I will say that I did get quite a bit of help from Sick Transit in town. I wanted like multiple sets of eyes looking over my bike before I went out, not just mine.
Sure.
And then they just helped me keep my setup real tidy and stuff. But I do enjoy that, but I don't enjoy. Mainly, I enjoy riding my bike. And so, some people are really worried about like which tires they're going to run. I don't get super into that. Like I'd rather spend that time riding my bike usually, but, or working on it. So,
well, I guess the reason I'm wondering is because I think about the Tour Divide, or just like any type of big event like that, long, where you're alone for a lot of the time, where you have to rely on yourself, and and even if it's not your favorite thing, I was thinking after you finished, I was talking to some friends about, would you ever want to do that? And I'm like, I don't know if I could ever trust myself to be able to fix my bike on the side of the road. But so how important do you think that aspect is before you take off on something like this, to be able to, you had some mechanical issues. Do you feel like you were prepared well enough in that sense?
Yeah, I think you should be pretty confident, like thinking about what can go wrong on your bike and having some sense. Maybe you can't fix it all the way, but like what's going to get you rolling well enough that you can get to a bike shop. Like, some idea of what can go wrong. I think you should have that even if you're doing Michigan coast to coast, right? Like you got 50 miles to get to your next place. Like you don't want to be totally dependent on other people. Spend a lot of time like making sure like any of the multi-tools you bring with you, like you can use those, because they're not as nice to use as your tools in your shop, right? So you got to make sure that you can use those. So practice using them in your shop at home. Make sure that you can can get all the way up to pressure, even if it takes you 5 years, right? Like ignore the floor pump, like those kind of things. I felt pretty well prepared. So my main mechanicals, I kept having issues with my rear brake. They're hydraulic disc brakes. And so it seemed to be an issue with the bleed. And no one's carrying a bleed kit with them on the Tour Divide. And so the argument for that is, if you're touring in a remote part of the world where there's not a bike shop, you probably want to run mechanical brakes, right? Because you can replace the cable, you can replace the brakes. Like the hydraulic, they work really great, but there's not a lot you can do to fix them in the field. And the other issue I was having was just punctures. And so sidewall tear, that didn't really seal up well on its own. I got a puncture kind of in the tread, and that did seal up well on its own. And so I've never had a puncture on a tubeless tire before, but I knew that. And so before I left, I practiced. And so a friend gave me like an old tire they were going to throw away, and stabbed it with a knife and practiced using the repair kit. I think I would like to do in the future, like there's a lot of different, the bacon strips and the tools. And I would like to have a better idea of which ones are the best ones to use and, how to use them most effectively. But I did have some idea of how to do it. And I will say the sidewall tear, I'm like, oh, it's going to seal with sealant, and just kept riding and it wasn't sealing. And I'm like stopping, every so often to just reinflate it. I'm like, it's going to seal. Like, I don't know why I didn't try to plug it from the get-go. I wasted a day, just like keep inflating. I don't know what it was. It was stupid optimism. And then I tried to put a tube in because I was like, okay, I give up. I'm going to put a tube in. And so you hear all these stories of people who go to grab their spare tube and it's got holes in it because they've been riding with it forever, right? In their bag.
Yeah.
So I made sure to get a fresh tube for this trip, which I put in the bag with all my tools, which has holes in it, right? Like, I don't know what the logic was there. And so I put it in and it's not inflating. And I pull it out and I'm like, oh, there's a hole. I've got a patch kit. And then I look, there's like 8 holes. There's not enough patches for that.
Oh, goodness.
And so then I'd already like dumped the sealant out. And I'm like, oh, but I still had a little extra sealant left. So I reset it up tubeless with my hand pump. But that wasn't the smartest. Like if I just plugged it from the get-go, I think sidewall tears are always going to be a little more problematic, but that would have saved me a lot of heartache. And then I replaced that tire, and then the other puncture on the bottom that broke open a few times, but it resealed, so that was good. I did use a plug. so yeah, practice like what can go wrong, and then practice fixing it. Practice like your geared bikes, practice setting them up single speed for when you dump over on your drive side. And you got to think about like, could I do this if it's cold and wet, like Iceman or something like that, right? Like go through your scenarios.
Right. I was thinking about where you have to be like mentally, like the mental space to begin an adventure like the Tour Divide. And I was thinking about preparation and just knowing you a little bit, I was like, yeah, she seems like she's a well-prepared person. I mean, not to stereotype, but I mean, you're a scientist, right? Like, I feel like you have like your things in order, right? I mean, but
some days, yeah,
but yeah, like I'm just thinking about like I'm sure everyone has a little bit of what's the word, but like you can only be so confident going into these things. But I think being confident is important, right? You can't. That's going to push you a little further than being so unsure of yourself. And now, like we were talking a little bit before you left, and I remember you saying, well, whether I finish or I not finish, it'll be an interesting story either way. So I'm sure there was part of you, maybe that's more of a realist thing to say, like, well, I may not be able to finish it, but I'm sure you have to be somewhat confident that one, you can be safe out there, that you can get yourself out, but then also like in the back of your mind, I'm sure that you're like, yeah, I can do this. That's why I'm here at the beginning. I'm here to finish it. How does that confidence play in your, not just a Tour Divide, but I guess like anytime you're on the bike?
I mean, I'm pretty, I don't know if stubborn's the right word, persistent.
That's
and
great.
So yeah, definitely those races where there's a good amount of adversity. I mean, I'm pretty good at finishing those ones and persisting through, bad weather, bad road conditions. So most of the time I get to the start and make it to the finish. Not good at going if I'm sleepy, but didn't finish the Crusher in 2020. I was just taking way too long. But otherwise, yeah, I'm pretty good at going up against adversity. And so, yeah, the fact that I went to the start line pretty much says that it's my intention to finish, and I'm going to do everything I can to finish. So I guess the second time my brakes stopped working, really bad timing as I rolled into the next town on a Sunday. And of course, the bike shops don't open until a Tuesday. And so I ended up sitting around taking a 0 day, which was kind of good because I had some things that need to heal up anyway. But I get to the shop and this guy's not confident that he's going to be able to fix it. And so I'm trying to figure out like, I'm going to ride back to the past town, or I'm going to pay like $200 for an Uber. I'm like, I am not quitting. Like, we are going to figure out, you like overnight something to this, do it myself, like send myself a bleed kit. And I was like, I'm not quitting. Like, it's not going to happen. Like there's a few frustrating moments, like the rocky descents and some mosquito swarms, but otherwise, like I never wanted to quit. And I think a lot of people say it's the mental game. A lot of people, so we never went over how many people started. I think it was like 186 did the grand depart.
Okay.
And I think maybe 60 finishers. I haven't checked, but I mean, it's usually over 50% DNF rate. And so, and a lot of people say it's really like the mental, like you got to be, it's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be long days. I'm pretty introverted, so being alone by myself that long isn't a big deal, but it bothers some people a lot being isolated for that long. But I mean, I was saying, part of me not finishing, you just like, you never know if you're going to get injured or health, right? Mm-hmm. Like you just get these, random infections at some time. So if it, happens on your ride, you got a whole month to get sick and for something to get screwed up. So yeah, some people got COVID and we're out, and so it's always uncertainty.
Yeah. I just think it does take like a certain personality to persevere, or
Oh
too,
yeah. Yeah.
too?
Actually, I'm a little concerned because, people are like, I'm motivated and I'm going to do this. It's like, if you're one of those people that's going to like be upset about a little bit of sand on a course or, a cold race morning start, I'd not recommend it. I really wouldn't.
That's
You're not going to like it.
um, that's any standout moments. I mean, you mentioned some of the tough things, the flats, the difficulty with your brakes, the chunky descents. Obviously, I mean, it was I can't even wrap my head around the amazing experience. What are some of the high moments of
High moment. I like thinking about high moments. Yeah, there weren't that many low moments, but they just like stick in your head pretty well.
Sure, they make good stories too. But let's talk about the positive things.
Yeah, so I sent you the video, YouTube video from Stephen Petty. But like the first day, I think just you're excited because it's the first day, but just those views of the Canadian Rockies, and I don't remember the names of the roads, but it was just massively wide gravel road. Like think of a highway, but it's a gravel road. And then you can just see the snow-capped mountains in the background. And this is like how you're starting off. And that's kind of unbelievable, I think. Or at least if I was just like, oh my gosh, it's happening.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm riding in the snow. And then you realize that's not as great as you originally thought it was. But that was definitely a high moment. I also really enjoyed meeting the other racers. Like sometimes you're only next to each other for a little while, or you would like kind of yo-yo back and forth as the days went on. But especially the first few like really hard days, you'd see someone, they would stop and then you'd catch up. Like that was just a great like mental, like, oh, it's my friend Daniel, or oh, it's my friend AJ. Like that was one of the things that kind of upset me about being stuck in Butte for 2 days, is like those friends were like long gone.
Yeah.
But then you meet new people. But those were really good moments. I met Jacob C. Can't pronounce his last name. When I was finally putting a plug into the sidewall tear, and he's like, "I'm staying with you until we know it's actually holding." Like I refuse to ride off. I'm like, oh, because I kind of want to hurt by myself. But he was really great, and he told me about like the alpaca ranch, like llama farm. This is in Montana. It was after, I think, the day with the most climbing and maybe also the hottest day. So it was a little uncomfortable. And there's these people and they just like offer free housing to people riding the Great Divide route. And they have these little, they kind of look like your yard sheds, but like mine was like a wagon, like sheep herders would used to pull, that you can stay in with bunk beds. And they like stock them with food and they're like, eat what you want. They had an outside shower. They like come to the porch and have a beer. Yeah, it was so nice. I'm like, oh,
wow,
this is great. Like, and hanging out. So we all hung out and had dinner together. The other cyclists and I that were there. It was so nice to have like a chill moment to do that. So that was really good. And then kind of like there's some areas, southern Colorado. It's called like Platoro, and it was just so gorgeous with like the water running and like the rock formations in the mountains. They have these really like iron rich rocks that make the mountains red. And that was so pretty. That's where one day I was just like, I'm done. Like I'm staying here. It was like 5:00. I'm like, I'm not riding anymore because I want to stay here for the rest of the day. You're like looking at all these people who live in this area. And I'm like, well, I can live here for one day. So yeah.
That's great. And I mean, I'm sure that's the reason a lot of people take on that challenge, is to just be able to experience those, I don't know, views and part of the country, by bike, or, they get there themselves.
So, like you earn those views, right?
Yeah.
Like you've gone up, you've done climbing all day, so you earned that view, and it's, I think, so much more rewarding than. I mean, some of those roads you could not go through on a vehicle. There were a lot of ATVs, but some of those roads were even close to ATVs. So like that's the way you do it, right? Hike it or bike it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you feel accomplished now. I mean, you should, like, you got it done. You are a Tour Divide finisher. Does that
last one to beat the broom this year?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you feel though like you did it, or is there still something now you're like, okay, what's next?
No,
or a little bit of both.
I feel pretty satisfied. I mean, I don't think that I'm like a changed new person. I think I'm a little more like, yeah, I'm tough. I can be tough. Than I used to be, like more willing to admit it. I'm not disappointed. So there's kind of a conflict between, like I told you, I stopped one day early, like racing it and being competitive and then enjoying the experience. That I don't know if I've quite settled in yet. Like I feel like I could have pushed myself to do more miles per day and to do it a little faster. I didn't think that would be necessarily, even if I could do it faster, it would be rewarding to me. I found when I was riding in the dark, it's kind of disappointing because you can't see the views. And so you're like, well, I'm missing all of this.
Sure.
Also, I thought it was a little scary in bear country, and a little scary descending when you can only see so far ahead of you. So, I mean, even if I could do it, I don't think I necessarily should, because I'm not sure what I would be trying to prove. Like, I think I have a physiology that recovers well, and that I could be more competitive in it, but I think mentally it wouldn't be enjoyable. And I'm like one of those people, I'd love to read all the informational placards about the rocks and stuff. I only let myself read like, 1 out of every 10 or 1 out of 20. It kind of, I would go back and read all the signs.
That's funny.
So if I did it again, it would be so slow.
Well, it's kind of, it's too, like you're talking about the conflict there, but it's still a little fresh, right? I mean, you've only been home a week, and I can kind of understand, like when it's fresh, you're coming off of something and you're like, I wish I would have done this, but you know how it is. Like a year from now, you're going to look back and then be like, you know what? That was the best experience. One of the best experiences.
I think in the end, I did about perfect, right? I took some days where I was kind of enjoying myself, but I still, stayed ahead of the broom, like a racing time. So yeah, I think I'm okay with like saying I'm not going to be a competitive bike packer, but I'm okay with that. I just sometimes feel like I should, right? If you have the potential, but
sure.
Yeah.
I think you should be okay with that, because from my perspective, it is impressive as hell to I don't know, to line up at the beginning, to go through all of that, to finish, to do it on a single speed. I mean, it's just a huge congratulations. And I know so many people, so many of your friends, so many people here from Michigan, they're just kind of I don't know if you felt that, the
extra energy and support. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool to see people resharing stuff of yours and see your own updates. So, I mean, you have to be, if you're not now, then I hope soon that you have to be so happy with your finish. And I just can't say congratulations enough. It's inspiring. Yeah, it honestly is inspiring. It's very cool. And just the many conversations I have had since you finished with other people about like, hey, would that ever be anything that you're interested in? And, maybe we should try that. Or
bad ideas. I know.
Isn't that all part of it though? But
I guess so. Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say today I was on bike packing, just looking at even though I said I'm not going to be a competitive bike packer, like I think I would still like to do the races just because other people are out there at the same time. And I do like that, even if I'm not riding with someone, like seeing other people. So I would say I was on there looking at upcoming things, like not for immediate future, but like, what's the next goal down the road.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I have seen that you've been riding a little bit. And you mentioned doing the Manton Divide, which is one of the local gravel races in Michigan. But so you're obviously back on the bike. Do you have anything else planned for the summer?
Yeah, I'm back on the bike. I didn't really feel like I needed time off. Came back in pretty good shape physically, and then like mentally, I wasn't like, I know some people like, I don't want to look at my bike.
Sure.
And I definitely like after some of my Ironman events, I didn't want to look at my bike. I was like, nope, don't need to see that again. But no, I was pretty excited to get back at it. I did my first intervals this morning, and you're kind of like, okay, like how's my heart going to respond? It was really interesting watching. My computer died at some point, but the first couple of days, like watching like your max heart rate as you get fatigued, just be like,
oh yeah,
tank it. I'm like, okay, it's not going to go above like 120 ever again. Is what I was thinking. Sorry, I had a really good workout this morning there. So I've got a few gravel races. The Divide, Watermoo,
oh, cool.
of course, which is our local race. I felt really strong. Single speeding that last year. Trying to decide if maybe I can go one gear harder this year, maybe because I'm used to, heavier bike, but we'll see. That might be a terrible idea. Spinners are winners. So, and then there's a race in Ohio called GPS 100. It's 100K, and that has single track pavement and gravel, which is going to be really interesting. Like, there's no right gear for that on single speed because the pavement's going to be silly, because there's so much climbing in Southern Ohio. So, but that's September. And then cyclocross, like pretty much I try to keep my calendar lately open for cyclocross in the fall. And I'm sad because I'd like to do Moran, but like that's too long for me. Like, I'll be tapering off my length. And so it doesn't fit into a cyclocross season, unfortunately.
I can't think of anything more different to cyclocross than bikepacking. I mean, it seems those two things don't.
I think it's got like, you got to think about obstacles, right? You're thinking about obstacles, how you're going to overcome things, mud, like bad weather, rocks.
Fair enough.
And then also the gear choice, right? So cyclocross, you got to think about, okay, maybe this little section, so I do think about tires a little bit in cyclocross. This one section, these tires might be a little bit better, but then the rest of the course, they're going to be worse. So really, you just have bad tires for that section and then, run that part, running, pushing your bike. You get that in cyclocross, right? Like carrying your bike. Yeah. I like the differences in intensities and stuff like that.
So basically it was just you're saying the Tour Divide was just a multi-day, multi-week cyclocross race.
Where I did a very bad job remounting and dismounting my bike, yes, or a worse than normal job. I'm not great at that, but yeah. Oh, I mean, like a really long cyclocross bike is kind of my dream, but yeah.
Well, very cool, Tracy. Thank you. I was excited when I first heard that you were going to take this on, and then seeing that you finished and following along the progress, I was getting more and more excited to talk to you about it. And I know that a lot of people are excited to hear about your story. So thank you for sharing. And again, congratulations, of course.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything else before we wrap it up?
It's so hard. You think about how hard it is to summarize, like, a 200-mile race, and now you've got 31 days of riding. So yeah, I'm working on, I think, something really nerdy. We'll see. I'll share it if it happens, but I'm going to try to put my race summary in like a data set using the database that I use for my science. So we'll see.
That seems like on brand for Dr. Tracy Berman, right? Like,
well, yeah, I don't really like writing. I know I post lots of stuff on Instagram. It takes me a very long time to do a paragraph, and it's kind of my Achilles heel professionally because we're supposed to write scientific papers, and people pretty much have to like tie me down into a chair and lock me in a room to get me to do it. I don't like sitting down at a computer. So like thinking about writing out a whole race report for this was overwhelming. So I started putting in a spreadsheet, and then spreadsheets are what we automatically ingest into this database. And so someone in a meeting today was like joking that I was going to put it in there. And I'm like, oh, heck yeah, it's happening. I can put all my pictures in there, like just like I'd put a microscopy image. So yeah. So I'll share that when it's
That's done. Amazing. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. This is perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. Hopefully I'll see you around at a race soonish. Are you doing I know you're riding a little bit.
I'm riding. I'm back riding. And pretty much back to it. I think now it's just like building fitness again.
You know what sounds good for building fitness and healing ribs? Cyclocross.
You know what? I mean, I've never done a cyclocross race.
Oh, yep. Come to CX Prex. Sign up for our clinics in August, Thursdays. And then you learn, and then you can come to Vets Park CX. It's going to be the Michigan State Championships.
Oh, you know what? I did hear that. Yeah. I like cyclocross. I mean, I like to, but I just, I've never
You're
raced
allowed
it.
to spectate too. That's fine. But you should race at least once.
I should race it once. I bet I will be terrible at it. I don't know. I mean, of course I probably would be terrible at it because I haven't ever done it before, but I feel like the style, the technical aspect and like just that kind of riding, like I would have to do a little work. That's what I'll say. But I'm interested in it. I should do it. sometime. But
you should do it.
Yeah. Great. It was awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
The Dirty Chain Podcast is a Michigan Midpack Media production in partnership with KOM Cycling, the source for your bike accessories and necessities. Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Dirty Chain Podcast. Email dirtychainpodcast@gmail.com. If you are enjoying the podcast, please leave us a rating and review on whatever platform you use to listen. Audio editing and original music by myself, Trevor Gibney. And a huge thank you to Tracy Berman for being on this podcast. And thank you all for listening to the Dirty Chain Podcast. And as always, keep your chain clean, but get your chain dirty. We will see you in the Midpack.